Welcome back to GameVault HQ. Today we're diving straight into a game that might surprise you with its dark twists and familiar inspirations. Lies of P. You might think you know the story of Pinocchio, but this game reimagines it in a way that's anything but child-friendly. Right off the bat, Lies of P doesn't waste time with pleasantries. The setting is a grim, steampunk-esque city called Krat, filled with mechanical enemies, eerie atmospheres, and mysteries lurking around every corner. The visuals are stunningly detailed, capturing the decay and beauty of the city, a sort of twisted Victorian world that feels alive, albeit in a very unsettling way. As P, you're on a quest to discover the truth, battling puppets and monstrosities alike. This journey is not for the faint of heart, and it's easy to see the influence of From Software's Souls games in the level design, combat style, and overall challenge. Speaking of influences, let's address the obvious. Lies of P has been compared to Bloodborne more times than we can count, and there's good reason for that. It takes heavy inspiration from the Soulsborne formula: tight combat, methodical pace, and punishing difficulty. But that doesn't mean it's a carbon copy. Lies of P offers its own take on the genre, with a few twists that keep it feeling fresh. One standout element is the lie system, which gives players the option to lie or tell the truth in critical moments, influencing both the storyline and character relationships. It's a fun mechanic that adds depth, giving players an extra reason to explore multiple playthroughs. Combat in Lies of P is deliberate, requiring timing, precision, and plenty of patience. The game gives you a variety of weapons, from swords to blunt instruments, each with its own feel and utility. Weapons in Lies of P are assembled from two components, a blade and a handle, which determines attributes such as base damage, defense, attack animations, and special abilities. This modular approach allows players to experiment and create hybrid weapons that suit their playstyle, which is something not seen in From Software's games. You also have a mechanical arm called Legion Arms that adds a lot of versatility, grappling enemies, throwing out a burst of fire, or breaking through defenses, for example. However, using these special abilities requires careful resource management, which adds another layer of strategy. These different tools allow for some creative approaches in combat. If you're a fan of dodging, parrying, and countering attacks, you'll feel right at home here. And of course, the boss battles are where Lies of P really shines. They're massive, terrifying, and relentless, often requiring you to learn patterns and adapt on the fly. It's classic, challenging gameplay that leaves you with a true sense of accomplishment once you manage to overcome each of these towering adversaries. Exploration plays a big part too. Krat is full of hidden areas and lore for those willing to look closely, rewarding you with gear, upgrades, and a better understanding of the dark world you're navigating. The world design is interconnected, which is great for finding shortcuts or looping back to previous points of interest. It's the kind of design that rewards attention to detail and makes you feel like the city is truly one sprawling, twisted labyrinth. One of the coolest aspects of Lies of P is the way it integrates the story of Pinocchio into a gritty action RPG. Your character, P, starts off as a puppet who desires to become human, and that theme runs through the entire game. It's not just a gimmick, it actually affects gameplay. Your choices make a difference. Will you lie to protect someone or tell the truth at your own expense? These decisions gradually shape P's journey, and they're rarely black and white, which helps make the narrative compelling. Fans of the original story might catch some clever nods to the classic tale, but the developers have taken real liberties, spinning the narrative into something uniquely sinister. The visuals and sound design also deserve a mention. Krat's environments are brought to life with beautiful yet oppressive detail. From cobblestone streets covered in fog to looming, rusted factories that feel ready to collapse at any second. The soundscape complements this perfectly. You'll hear distant creaks, the hiss of machinery, and the muffled footsteps of enemies, all of which build a haunting atmosphere. Even the music feels on point, oscillating between quiet tension and swelling intensity during boss fights. It's this level of attention that really draws you into the experience. If there's one area where Lies of P stumbles, it's the difficulty balance. While challenging combat is a big part of the genre, there are moments when the difficulty spike feels a bit off. especially if you haven't been methodically upgrading your weapons or skills. Some players might find these parts frustrating to the point of quitting, especially if they're not die-hard Soulslike fans. On the flip side, fans of punishing gameplay will relish the challenge, and it's clear that the game was made with those players in mind. Performance-wise, Lies of P holds up pretty well. Frame rates are stable for the most part, even during chaotic fights, though there have been some reports of minor glitches. Nothing game-breaking, but enough to occasionally pull you out of the immersion. Hopefully, these will be ironed out with patches over time, as the core experience is solid and runs smoothly enough to keep you engaged without too many hiccups. Lies of P also encourages multiple playthroughs with its choice-driven narrative. Depending on how you decide to answer certain questions, you'll experience different endings. This isn't just a small variation in the final cutscene. The choices genuinely feel significant, which adds weight to your decisions. Are you a puppet that simply follows orders, or will you take control of your own destiny? It's a fitting question, especially in a game that plays with the idea of what it means to be real. In terms of character progression, it follows a pretty familiar route. You gather Ergo, the game's version of experience points, from defeated enemies, which you can use to upgrade attributes like strength, health, and stamina. There's also crafting and weapon customization, which allows for some interesting combinations depending on your playstyle. It's straightforward, but effective, and it gives you the freedom to make P your own, especially as you experiment with different weapons and arm enhancements. Ultimately, Lies of P is a game that knows its audience. If you're into Soulslikes and love a dark twist on a classic story, this game is definitely worth checking out. Its setting, combat, and narrative choices set it apart enough to feel like its own entity, even if it borrows heavily from those that came before. The visuals, the eerie atmosphere, and the constant sense of tension make it an experience that's both harrowing and rewarding. It's not a game for everyone, but for those who appreciate a good challenge and a well-crafted world, Lies of P delivers. We give Lies of P an 8.5 out of 10. It might not reinvent the genre, but it's a solid addition to the lineup of challenging action RPGs that keep you coming back for more, despite the frustrations along the way. If you like this review, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more game reviews and news. Leave us a comment with your thoughts on Lies of P. Did it live up to the hype for you? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.